Welcome back to the Man Cave, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 57 of the ManTFup podcast. I'm Kimmy B.
And Lenny.
Oh, it's about to be a good one. But before we go any further, please remember, like, subscribe, share, and follow us absolutely any and everywhere. You can catch the podcast anywhere podcasts are streaming. And obviously, we'd love to hear from you in the comments on our social media, especially on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and all of that good stuff. Now, let's jump right into it, Len. I got one of the best news alerts ever today. This could be a little dated by the time people watch it, but they've been flooding my timeline. It's got to do with one of your best friends, somebody you tried to get on this podcast numerous times,
And?
The one and only Andrew Tate, who is now set to face charges for rape, human trafficking, and organized criminal activity in Romania. You know, it's funny, I mentioned this on my radio show, and you know there is no love lost for Andrew Tate from my point of view, especially on this podcast. But my explanation of current events regarding Andrew Tate on the radio were mild. You know this because you listen to my show. Like it's not satellite radio.
No.
It is terrestrial, corporate ass radio. There's no swearing. The George Carlin, 7 deadly sin. That's all still very real. I can't curse. I can't, necessarily say exactly how I feel. So I was pretty factual in what I got, and there's still not a whole lot of information out there regarding what's going on, and it's friggin' Romania. Of all places.
Yeah, and it's
you know what I'm
social
saying?
Media facts.
Well, yeah, but I'm talking about just even the charges. There's only so closely you can follow a trial happening, literally half a world away in a country that doesn't really have core TV. You know what I mean? And it's got to do with a social media influencer. I call him a shuckster, a fraudster, or whatever. I have a lot of different words for Andrew Tate. But with the damage he was able to do in such a short amount of time culturally using, various social media platforms, I am very happy to see just his name and his likeness being, I hate to say tarnished in this way, but tarnished in this way because there has actually been a fall off on the younger end of his followership since he's been locked up and since he's been away from, these social media platforms. That's it? You were so excited.
I think it's extreme. The
human trafficking, yes, very extreme.
Forget about what
raping women. Forget about what?
Let me finish.
Okay, go for it.
Finish what I'm saying.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
This is not about the I'm not going to the criminal activities that him or his brother or his partners may have done. That's bad. Okay, we don't want to condone that in any way. But by the same token, I don't think the fact that he was encouraging men to be men is necessarily a terrible thing.
You really think that what he was perpetuating on social media was just encouraging men to be men? He was encouraging young men in particular to be misogynists. He was encouraging young men in particular to manipulate and berate and belittle their women into submission. I can't say he started the whole, simp culture, but we had a woman in here and it's I'm sorry.
That culture's been around for a long time.
For sure. No. But I'm saying there definitely has been a resurgence. No, there definitely has been a resurgence. First of all, do you want to know something? You know how many empowered women work in strip clubs? You know how many women
I'm not talking about the women.
I'm
talking about the simps that are paying them.
The simps. You've never been to a strip club? You've never paid for a lap dance? Every man that's in a strip club is a simp?
Well, a good majority of them.
You pay a bartender. I mean... according to you, half of your friends are simps if they're too complicit in the things that their wives ask of them.
Pretty much.
But at the end of the day, alpha men, real men, are protectors, right? They're leaders. this man was not, he was an intimidator. There's a difference between being an intimidator and being a leader. There's a difference between being a protector and abuser. And he was literally teaching people, again, young men in particular, how to manipulate women in an abusive way. And that's exactly what he did. You're also talking about a man on the flip side of it who's an idiot.
Do we have any clips that we can play of him manipulating men into treating women that way?
Manipulating men. He had an entire online school, and that is exactly what
Hustlers
the school
University.
is basically what it's about, though. It's about enticing women into your world to then turn around and use them in the way that he did, which was for sex work.
So Hustlers
he had a
University
webcam.
was teaching people how to exploit
Did you
women?
subscribe? Did you subscribe?
No.
Okay.
Did you?
So, no, but I've definitely asked people about it and have looked into
Nick
it.
subscribed, and several other people that I know subscribed, and I don't think they're starting any kind of sex trafficking ring. I mean,
he's teaching men, though. His whole goal is to teach men how to. His whole MO is about controlling your woman, making your woman know her place. But in his world, her place is literally locked away, literally and figuratively.
Okay. Okay.
Because we've watched those interviews of him.
Okay, I get that. Extreme. He's extreme. Not good. But again, what's wrong with being the man in the relationship
But being
and the woman catering to your needs?
But why not teach people a healthy way of doing that? Like,
Then
in
maybe
a
that's
loving,
healthy for some people. Maybe some women
locking
want
men
to be.
Some women want to be berated and belittled and told if they go out they're a whore.
You're going back to the extreme.
That's
okay?
him. That's who we're talking about. And
I
that is
get
what
it.
he was perpetuating through social media channels. And we saw a direct correlation. There was a spike. There are multiple articles, testimonials, interviews with people who saw in a month's amount of time, 2 months of following this man and of religiously watching his videos, a change in the demeanor and the character of the men in their lives, especially the young men. They said there was an upswing in middle schools and high schools of men being abusive and aggressive, young men being abusive and aggressive towards teachers, towards their female, classmates. That's
not good.
This is but this is how this guy and you pointed out one of the things that you loved about him, and I don't want to make it sound like you because here's the deal. There were certain things that I did not, and I said this on the air. I said, I don't disagree staunchly with everything he said in relationships, but for every truth he spoke, for everything that made some sense, he would always take it to 1,000. But the thing is, people are drawn to that. We talk about it all the time on this podcast. People are drawn to the extremes. When we had the woman that was in here, what was her name? Laura? Was her name Laura? Do you remember? She was from Seattle. Beautiful woman. She owns a business. She's a doctor.
Dr. Dawn.
Dr. Dawn. Wow, I was really wrong. Laura, my bad. Sorry, I interview a lot of people. Sorry, Dr. Dawn.
She really hates women.
But she was, what? Who, me? Oh, God. I was like, Dr. Dawn definitely doesn't. And neither do I. But Dr. Dawn was talking about alpha males, and I love the way that she, she always brought it back to, Mother Nature, like that was kind of her reference point. But again, it's about leadership, and it's about being a protector. Nothing about him says either of those, but he was touting I'm the example of an alpha man. And because people don't want to do their research, people aren't going to dig a little deeper and really look up what an alpha is supposed to be. To them, it's just being loud, being wrong. He's a character. Like, if you really pay attention to but Lenny, you're old enough to know the difference, right? There are little kids out there who think that Superman is real, right? Who believe in all of these Marvel characters. Thanos is coming to get us all, right? And then you get older and you go, okay, there's qualities to superheroes that you love, but even superheroes are flawed. It scares me that the people that were really drawn into this aren't grown-ass fucking men that are married and have healthy relationships. It was young people trying to find their way. And unfortunately, maybe it's a young guy who doesn't have a lot of money. Maybe it's a young dude who's got a pimply face. Maybe it's a young dude who doesn't dress swaggy, so he's maybe been made fun of or been overlooked. And Andrew Tate gave off that little dick energy vibe. Like he was made fun of at some point, like he wasn't the cool kid.
But do you think he might have empowered some of those kids to make changes and be more
And be
Not necessarily-
douchebags? Sure.
Not necessarily only to become douchebags. I mean, you don't think that there's a lot of kids out there trying to find their way. They're very shy. I mean, today's social
Follow
media.
Grant Cardone. Follow Gary Vee.
Today-
Like, there's way
today's-
better.
Today's social media environment and just in general communications between younger generations, they can't talk to people.
Mm-hmm.
They can't physically walk up to a girl and say hi
Lenny,
with looking them in the eye.
Lenny,
They can't do it.
But with Andrew Tate, again, his whole thing was, even with people, it was to make them feel less than. Like, that was his whole modus operandi.
Yes, we
he wore the
understand he's a bully.
sunglasses. No, yeah, but to men, to women, to all of it.
Yes,
so is
he's
that,
a bully.
So there's no positive takeaway, because again, it's all fraudulent. If you have to wear sunglasses inside in every conversation, that's usually a sign that you're hiding something, that you're a liar, and that you're a manipulator. Like, those are things that therapists will tell you. Those are things that forensic, specialists.
You know what I liked about him?
What?
Well, I still like it about him. He's a social media genius when it comes
Okay.
to getting his shit out there.
Yeah.
Okay?
I said that on the air.
He's just
I said he didn't even have his own platforms. He used other people's platforms in order to
accelerated.
Yeah, it was crazy.
He accelerated himself more than anybody I think of. Anybody in social media history, he grew the biggest, the fastest.
He did. But that's also what took him down.
Of course.
And so with that being said, it's like that.
But that's ego.
That is ego, and that is another part of the problem here. Is like, if you really want to give somebody credit, right? It's like the smart dope boy versus the flashy dope boy, right? Like, did you ever see the movie American Gangster with Denzel Washington? Do you know the movie I'm talking about? Who was he? Oh my God.
Frank.
Yeah. Frank Lucas, right? And his whole, what got him caught up? The fucking chinchilla coat at the fight and sitting, ringside, which is something that was so far out of his normal activity, because his mentor taught him, fly under the radar. Nobody needs to know what you have, how you're moving, collect your money, and live a good life. Give back to the community, right? Like, just be a stand-up human being and, don't draw too much attention to yourself. This is a man who got on other people's podcasts and straight up said he moved to Romania because the government there is corrupt. And he did it so that he could avoid criminal charges for the shit he was doing here in the United States, in the UK, in other places in Europe. Like, this is just not a good dude. And we gave him a platform. You know what I mean? And not only did we give him a platform, we basically poured gasoline on him and lit that bitch up. Like, and that's scary, because now you have the remnants of that. But if people aren't listening to the ManTFup podcast and hearing the other part of it, it's like, controversy sells controversy. Even 45, right? To me, even President Trump, the more attention he got when he said, things that to me would be outlandish, but to somebody else might have been brilliant, the more he doubled down on those things.
No such
right?
thing as bad press.
So when that, I think with social media, I'm going to be honest, I think that we might need to stop saying that, because there might not be such a thing as bad press, but there are ramifications and repercussions,
of course,
in 2023, because nothing dies, right? Like,
yeah.
when that saying
it's
came
evidence.
out, when that saying came out, though, you had a news headline, and unless somebody saved the clipping, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did it really? Or, you know what I mean? In the next week, there was another headline. Now everything lives forever, and not only that, there's audio of it, there's video of it, there's reiterations of it, there's AI
I never
fucking
said
deepfakes
that.
of it.
But
and then there's edits of it, and things are taken out of context. So as much as there's no such thing as bad press, and we love obviously getting credit for things that we say, there's just no shelf life on anything. Like, there's no expiration date for any of this shit, and it can live on. And I think that somewhere down the line, guys like Andrew Tate will be studied for the damage that they did. Not because they were social media geniuses, which, again, I will not disagree with you, Len. Like, it is absolutely wild to me, the power of the platform. Like social media at that point, when we say like reared its ugly head, like to me, that was the perfect
I
example.
mean, he got canceled and came right back. They took him down on every platform across the board. He was gone. Completely gone. They canceled his bank account. They canceled everything, and he came back in, how long was it, Nestor? About 2 weeks?
Yeah, but he also got taken down by a teenage, climate activist because his ego.
Well, that's
he can't
Wolf of
control
Wall
himself.
Street, same thing. FBI said, look, you stop now,
Please don't
nothing's
ever
gonna
compare
happen.
him to Jordan Belfort. I would much prefer you guys follow Jordan Belfort on all forms of social media
Yeah,
because
but
at least
why?
he's giving you.
He was a thief. Jordan Belfort took advantage of elderly and stole from them.
Okay.
Okay?
And he did time for it.
Okay.
He went to jail, right?
Okay, yeah.
And he's
but the
come
point
back.
is, he had an opportunity to walk away, and he didn't do it. And that's the downfall of most successful men.
But on the flip, but I say,
that level.
but on the flip side of that, like, yeah, I mean, there's no
Criminals, anyways.
there's no glorification to what Jordan did. I love the movie. I think there were a lot of people on Wall Street at that time and still are that are crooks and criminals.
Of course.
We know this, no different than politics. There have been people in this room that I would rather you follow. We were discussing it before this. I'd rather you follow a Grant Cardone. I'd rather you follow a Gary Vee. I'd rather you buy into the Tony Robbins persona. Even though those are characters to some degree too. Anytime you have, that kind of charisma, which you just used, and obviously Andrew Tate has a charismatic personality.
He had a target audience. He went after it, and he,
Yeah, but he went after. Can I
exploited
tell you something? I feel like he went after. Like, I hate to say this though, but I feel like he went after those kids that if they didn't find Andrew, they would have found some other dark side of the internet. Do you know what I mean? And who knows?
Yeah, but there's plenty of dark sides of the internet. There's a million of them.
There are, but these the problem is though. He was just perpetuating hateful, derogatory, harmful, abusive behavior. That's not the kind of men that we meet. I know that you feel like there's a pussification of men, and I don't want a beta. Again, I don't want somebody out here pussyfooting around and afraid to speak their mind because I'm not, as a woman, I'm not those things, right? But I think that men and women can respect one another and can go toe-to-toe with one another without, a man having to assert his dominance in an aggressive, belittling, condescending, or, marginalizing way. But
that's expressing his dominance is the point. That's the point.
No, but you express your dominance with other men. Why do you feel the need to do that with women? That makes you a pussy. That's some bitch ass bullshit.
What? Because your woman does what you ask her to do? Because
No. Again, we're talking about Andrew. Don't.
No, I
Lenny,
told
that's
you,
the part.
Tate's over the line.
I get it. So but then that should not be the reference point. Give me a better example of somebody that who right now in the social media space do you think is positively perpetuating, what you would like to see?
Alec Baldwin.
More men. Are you being serious?
No.
I mean,
he's a little off the chain, but
with what though?
Just in general. But I mean, the point is,
he's having babies in his 70s, so
he's
doing all right.
Came after the fact that men are being put into a role of, kind of secondary. And the fact is that, and I believe it, and a lot of men believe it, that, without men, you're going to have some issues. Men fight the fight. They fight the wars. It's just men are it's just the way I feel, Kimmy.
Mm-hmm.
Women.
You're not here though without a woman.
Most...
And in 2023, I hate to point it out, this is the thing that cracks me up about this conversation. And I was thinking about this on the way over here. I get that you guys. I don't know what kind of world you want to live in 2023, where Is it the Leave It to Beaverland where women are back in the house, where they know their role, where they're not competing for jobs, where they're not doing certain things, like they're just there to make you your martini, and when you come through the door, hey, honey, how was your day?
If you have a man who is successful in business, I think he's probably looking for a woman to take care of him.
But there's not enough of them to go around. Like,
Okay.
that's the other problem.
Fine.
You understand that? Like,
so-
women have to work. If women stop working completely, if we all just say, fuck it, we're going to take it back to the 50s. We're not working no more. Men, you guys go out there, make sure the mortgage is paid, make sure the groceries are on the table, make sure all of these things are happening, right? Like, there aren't enough men that can hold down a household by themselves. People
Correct.
need two incomes.
Yes,
order to survive.
I don't believe that women shouldn't work or have opportunities in the workplace the same as men. I don't believe that. That's fine. But at the end of the day, it's the male-female roles. The general roles of male-female are what has been under attack for a long time. If you ask a woman, what is she like these girls? I watched some podcast. It was funny. There's like 5 girls sitting around the table, and the guy asks, well, what do you expect from a man? Pay for this, pay for that, do this, do that, do that, da da da. Okay, and what do you do? Mm-hmm. What are you bringing to the table? She had crickets. She had crickets. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you mean? I mean, it's like I don't understand that, but I do understand that a lot of men or a lot of younger generations of males have been kind of, led down a path of, equality and male and female roles are not the same thing. Mm-hmm.
Do you ever wonder though?
Male female equality that's one thing. But there's a role. Women bear children, men can't. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's kind of their role. Mm-hmm. And those roles have been kind of.
But that's not all women want to do. And when women can provide for themselves, it makes us less susceptible to the abusive, manipulative, domineering dickheads, right? Like, we don't have to just
Yet you're all
sit in
attracted
the
to
house. No, we're not all attracted to them. And that to me is part of the fraudulent messaging that people like Andrew Tate are pumping out. Like, no. Do I want a leader? Yes. Do I want a man who gives me protector vibes? Do I want to feel safe? Of course I do. But on the flip side of that, do I want to be belittled and demeaned? Like, I'm not the one that you need to be fighting with.
Is like, that's like
Lenny.
That's like
slippery slope.
That's yes, but that's like put it to a definition. You're using these words, belittled and demeaned, like
when you tell me that I'm not worth shit but my pussy, which is the kind of shit that Andrew Tate says. Like,
yes, okay,
sweetie, I can go out there and I can get snatched anywhere. And I can get dick anywhere, bro. Like the problem to me is we have taught men that their entire value rests on what they can provide financially, right? Doesn't matter what your attitude is, doesn't matter how you look, doesn't matter what you're like, right? Like none of these things. It's, can you put a roof over somebody's, that makes you a good man because you can provide certain things, right? And unfortunately to me, like when you have women who can provide those things for themselves, it becomes more about your character, not your financial status. And he wanted to take it back to that place where, because I have, a McLaren and because I can go drop 50 grand on a trip to Dubai, I can treat you any which way I want. You're going to stay in the house. Like his whole rhetoric was, it does not, the people that want to say, oh, human trafficking, there's no proof. No. His entire rhetoric, everything he stands for, supports the idea that he would be trafficking women. Like,
so just to clarify this. Okay, I can put a roof over your head. I can take us on trips. I can do all this stuff, but I'm a fucking dick. Mm-hmm. If you stay, am I forcing you? Am I? If you come to a place,
no, because but here's the thing: a woman who doesn't. There's two types of women that are gonna, or people that are gonna stay in that situation. Somebody with some sort of unresolved issues, right? If you allow yourself to be treated like shit in a relationship, there's usually something else going on there, right? Whether you have self-esteem issues, maybe you have daddy issues, abandonment issues, you've been abused in the past. Like, there's multiple reasons. I'm not a therapist. If we had one here, they could break it all down. Or you need them financially to provide those things for you. And in some situations, that is a trade-off. For many, many years, if you aspire to live a certain life as a woman, right? Or if you were raised up in a certain class of society, that was just the trade-off, right? You didn't work, but your husband probably cheated on your ass and might be a dick. And, that was just something that was par for the course. Like, there's plenty of, blue blood Americans, like super wealthy, that have understandings or agreements with their spouses, right? Like, marriage is more of a contract. It's not necessarily about love and the relationship. It's two good families coming together. There's that version of it. And then in other situations, it's just, marrying. We see it all the time in Miami. You look at couples and you're like, how the fuck did that happen? And you know how it happened, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there was a girl on TikTok the other day talking about how she needs $12,000 a month to live in Miami. And of course, immediately in the comments, it was like, tell me you're on OnlyFans without telling me you're on OnlyFans, or tell me you're a sugar baby without telling me you're a sugar baby. Because it's like, what do you do? What do you do? Like, I would love to know what you do.
Yes.
Are you independently wealthy?
So you, who are educated and career-oriented and all of that stuff, bring a lot to the table. Mm-hmm. The OnlyFans girl doesn't. Mm-hmm. The OnlyFans girl, all she's using is what she was given. So I think there's probably more of them than there is.
Yeah, and I think but again, I'm not going to. That person still deserves to be loved and be treated like a full human, and
but she doesn't like the dudes that do that.
And she may not. But again, there's a deeper issue to that. The same reason, like for the same reasons why young, insecure, probably weak-minded men were attracted to what Andrew Tate was saying. Like, something tells me those were the dudes that had been picked on, bullied. You know what I'm saying? Like, those were the guys that were getting their gusto for him. Like, yeah, fuck these people, and I'm not a fucking simp, and go fuck yourself, and fuck that hoe, and this, you know what I mean? Shane, where shit, she's nothing but a thought, and you know what I mean? Like, that was the kind of, he perpetuated that mentality of, it's not you, it's them, right? It's not that you're not good enough, she's just a whore. It's not that you don't have enough money, like, you know what I mean? Go out and get the money, and then you can shit on them right back. And, have you ever been broken up with for a dude that had more money? Have you ever been broken up with a dude who was better looking? Or These are the ways
That's the name of the game.
Circumvent that. But you can do, like,
bitch
can I tell you?
Chose me.
No, can I tell you? I told a kid to go follow Dan Bilzerian, like, because I told you, I mentioned this. I mentioned the Andrew Tate situation on the radio, and a kid. I'm not a kid, he's probably early 20s, slid in my DMs and was like, what a biased misrepresentation of information. He left me a clown emoji. And I was like, you are the reason why Andrew Tate is problematic. I was like, here you are defending an accused rapist, human trafficker, and, organized crime figure, calling a woman a clown, right? Like this is the behavior. This is the aggressiveness. You don't know me from a fucking hole on the wall. I'm doing my job. This is what I'm paid to do. And you see absolutely nothing wrong with, like, to me, that's simp behavior. You're on the internet defending another dude who's been accused of rape and all of these things. And it was funny because he ended up backing down. Oh, it wasn't meant disrespectfully. It's all, and I'm like, yeah, but it wasn't respectful. Like, you don't know me and you don't know him. Why is this your internet role model, bro? Like, seriously, of all the people you can follow and want to emulate on the gram, on TikTok, on Facebook, on, Discord, on all of these platforms, this is your guy? I was like, go follow Dan Bilzerian. Dude smokes weed, has 30 hoes on his airplane, and shoots guns and is living the life. You know what I mean? And I haven't, honestly, Dan never talks. He just posts pictures and videos. I mean,
probably like, hi, everybody.
I don't, like I said, and I'm not saying that Dan Bilzerian is this, model citizen, because I'm pretty sure his family has been through their, has their fair share of dirty laundry. Like, I know there's been some issues with the law there. But it's like, you know what I mean? There's other guys that are living this aspirational life that I think bring more to the table as far as character goes than fucking Andrew Tate.
Yeah,
but it's
Andrew
easier.
Tate wasn't living the life. Bilzerian's got the life. Andrew Tate was trying to create the life.
But he was telling people he was a trillionaire.
He was
and
trying
people
to create,
were literally believing it and repeating it.
You know, we had a whole conversation in our meeting today that nothing you see on the internet, nothing is fact. Nothing. Absolutely nothing you see on the internet is fact. And we went through it.
Oh, my God.
And, you know, I mean, some of my guys pride themselves on, you know, I have a marketing degree. I have this. I have that. You know, maybe we should do this, that, and the other. I'm like, but nobody does that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of marketing is smoke and mirrors. And that's all that Instagram is smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
There's nothing
But
real.
But again,
The real people aren't there. The people who really have their shit going on are not there.
that's a very good point.
They're not there. You know what they're doing? They're enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, you see Richard Branson fucking posting up, "Hey, look at my fucking car."
Only when he's marketing something.
Exactly.
Only when he's selling you something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the facts of
Well,
real versus fake. You wanna look for a role model, find one that's not on social media.
that might be the smartest shit you have ever said, Lenny. Like, swear to God. Because you've said some really stupid shit today. I'm just kidding. But that's facts. That's facts. And honestly, if for nothing else, I don't know what's going to happen to Andrew Tate in Romania. I really don't. Do I think that he's very right in saying their government is probably corrupt? Yeah, it is the human trafficking, you know.
How do you know this is not just all a ploy by Andrew Tate to stay relevant in social media? Because look at right now. Right now, he's getting fucking airtime on our podcast. Okay?
Yeah, but he was getting it before for the wrong reasons. And
but
at least now,
it doesn't matter.
But
think about it, Kimmy.
Len,
he's in Romania. The judge let him out on house arrest. You know, they arrested him. They let him out. They arrested him in December. They let them out on house arrest. But you realize,
though, he can't. But now
they're living their whole entire lives like nothing's going on.
No, in Romania, he can't travel. He can't go to the UK, which is where he really lays his roots. He can't come back to the US. He's going to face criminal charges everywhere. Like, they've got him on organized crime, racketeering. There's a bunch of things.
He's still relevant, and he's still raising money.
Cool, but he doesn't have the same amount of power that he had. Like, and that to me is the most important thing. And the other point that I would like to make, the more I think about the Andrew Tate podcasts that I've watched, the conversations that I've seen, he never actually has a formidable opponent, ever.
No.
He's always sitting on a couch with a dude who wants to be him, with a person who's in awe of him, or against, or talking to a woman, but a woman who is young, beautiful, single. No. But and a little bit lost. You know what I mean? All the women I've seen him go toe to toe with, like, they can't hang with this motherfucker. They cannot. And that's not a knock on them, but he points out, you know, their weaknesses. Like, to your point, it's the girls.
He's not interviewing Candace Owens.
No, you know, he's sitting across from the table from the five girls you were just talking about.
Yeah.
Who want X, Y, and Z, and who don't necessarily even know what they bring to the table, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference. If somebody is looking at him, I've not even heard one of them say, because they're still in their independent woman frame of mind, right? So I've never even heard one of them say, "Bitch, I cook, I clean, I treat my man like a king." I've never heard one of them even throw that, because
they don't want to do that.
But
they want to pay somebody to do that.
But that would shut him down. But no, but like, even a person who comes to the table with a six-figure job, with her shit in order, all of those things, I still understand the value of that for somebody who deserves it, right? Andrew Tate, in my book, will never deserve that. Not from somebody like me, right? And that's fine. He would never, ever date somebody like me. Ever in life. Andrew Tate needs to be able to control all facets of the situation. He needs to be able to control you mentally, financially, emotionally. He needs a weak, broken person. And if you're not that when you come to the table, by the time you're done with him, you will be those things.
I don't know if I'd say that's necessarily.
I think he's a sociopath.
That's not always the sign of a weak, broken person.
No. Len, again, you're not thinking of the extreme nature to which this is a man who's forcing women to perform on camera. This is a man who is literally telling you the only places you can go without me are nowhere. Like, you're not going on girls' trips with, like, I don't care if I go on guys' trips every week. If I'm paying the bills and whatever, a good woman is staying at home. You're waiting for me to return. Maybe I'll take you somewhere. Maybe we'll go to the spa. But outside of that, you're going to stay in the house, locked away, in your tower. Like, I don't know what Beauty and the fucking Beast, nightmare he's trying to spin out here. But the porn version. But it is not for a strong, self-sufficient. Like, that's just not who he's going for. It really isn't. And I think that he honestly gives me sociopathic vibes. Like, I feel like he would like to break a bitch down. Like, he just gives me that. There are some narcissistic men out there who and narcissistic women too. I'm not going to put it all.
There's plenty of them.
There are people who like to see other people buckle. Like, they like to like to feel their power over somebody, right? Like, and
I mean,
that's just a scary person.
Controlling situations and controlling how things in your life work.
Mm-hmm.
That's some people like that. Are you going to call them a sociopath? Like, I've told several people.
That's
I've
narcissism.
told several people.
You can't control.
This is not necessarily narcissism.
No,
it's not narcissism.
There's nothing
narcissism.
You can't control other people though.
But you
because at some point, in order to control them,
you can give them a choice.
That's not control, though.
This is my world,
mm-hmm.
and if you want to live in my world, then these are the rules. So that's the same thing. If you don't want to live by my rules, no problem. There's the fucking door. That's not narcissism. You could call it sociopathic, whatever you want to call it, but that's the way it is. I created my world and I live in it. And
you hear how many I's you're saying though? Like, that's just not a healthy partnership. Like, I, me, my, get with it or get out. Like that's cool.
You're part of it or you're not. You support it wholeheartedly or you don't.
And what about the other person's world?
What about it? What they're free to have their own world. They're free.
But okay. So in the Andrew Tate scenario, they're not. Is my point. That's a different level of control. Like, you can't control people though. Like, I'm not. I'm here for the choice.
If he met a woman and he said, "Look, you want to be my girl? No problem. You stay in the house. You don't leave. You're there when I need you."
Would you want your daughter in that relationship?
No, but. This is
that's it. Just leave it at that. It's not healthy.
Leave it at that. It's if the girl makes a conscious decision to be that person.
Just because something happens, though, Lenny, doesn't make it right, and we shouldn't be out here.
But what makes it wrong?
What do you mean? What makes it wrong? Like, that's
what makes it wrong.
Len, like that. The man has a
take care of the house.
Okay, there's a difference between staying home and taking care of the house and being locked away and not having the personal freedom to come and go out of fear of repercussions or ramifications. That's emotional torture, though. Do you realize that? Like, if you tell somebody, I'm going to give you a choice. This is how my world works. If I'm, Do you
remember Un Fufu?
No.
From Eddie Murphy?
From like Raw or Delirious?
Yeah.
Yes and no, I don't remember completely.
Because you bring the girl here from another country and you never want her to meet you never want her to meet an American woman, because once they meet an American woman, they're like, I want half, Eddie, half.
Yes. Lenny, though, like, but I'm trying to have I understand that you would like to make light of this, and I understand that part of that is the what are those people called? No. What were they called? Those little prehistoric. I'm losing my words. It's
caveman.
The caveman.
Yeah, really? You can't remember caveman?
No, I can't. That's we're in the man cave.
Please, someone give me my bat.
We've got to reverse it around. Yeah, that's.
Come, woman.
No, but that's emotional torture. Like, when somebody doesn't do something out of the fear of you walking away, that's not even a choice. That's emotional warfare. Like, and that is not healthy. People stay in relationships out of fear of being left. You confuse love with need, you confuse.
Yep.
Do you understand? So
women stay in abusive relationships, men stay in abusive relationships.
but abuse isn't always physical. You
No,
understand? Like,
yeah.
and a lot of times
Mentally,
it is
all of
mental
it.
and it is financial, and that to me is what that man was perpetuating. And when you say things like, it's all fine and well to have a world that you've created and to have standards for yourself and to know what you do and don't want, like that can make things very clear cut, right? If you're upfront about those things from jump, like, listen, these are the parameters to being with me, right? And you give a person that choice. I understand where you're coming from. There are healthy choices and there are healthy parameters for everybody involved. Then you can cross over into another space where it's like everything revolves around me, right? And if you want this house and you want this car, you're going to do exactly as I say, and you're going to not speak out of turn. And sometimes that doesn't happen off rip. Sometimes that happens a little bit further down the line. You know what I mean? When somebody has kind of already been ingratiated. And then that's usually how that goes, right? You're kind of, not that you're tricked in, but you're reeled in. And then the next thing you know, you're locked away in the tower and you don't step out of line for fear of having the rug pulled out from underneath you, for fear of being left.
I would say that's a lot of women nowadays.
I don't know if it's a lot of women nowadays. I think
that's why the divorce rate is so high.
What do you mean?
Because,
well, that means they're leaving.
Going into relationships, you have the honeymoon period, and this whole new thing. And the minute that goes away,
Well, I think that's a different conversation. That's about people's inability to stick. Because I think you can have good relationships.
I think it's about people's inability to conform to the other person. Because at some point in a relationship, someone has to fucking be in charge.
Somebody can be in charge, Lenny, but here's the problem, is that the things that kept people, women in particular, in relationships before don't hold as much weight anymore because I can pay the mortgage on my own. And that to me is why it's so important to empower women to have their own. It's not so that we can be single. Life is so much better with a partner. Life is so much better with a person to share experiences with. It's so much better to share the burdens, the bills. All of that is wonderful to share with somebody, right? It's nice to have somebody to come home and just breathe with, not even have a conversation, just to be in that safe space. And especially from a woman's perspective, there is nothing better. Your girlfriends can be great. A lot of times it's the blind leading the blind, you know what I'm saying? So it's not that there's helpful information there. Yes, you can vent. Yes, you're talking to each other. You cry on each other's shoulders, but there's nothing like the comfort of your person. If you have that man in your life, or, if it's a woman, if that's your thing, but if you have that person that you come home to that you can just breathe with, that you feel safe with.
That you can shit with the door open?
Well, that's not my thing, but sure, I guess so. Lenny, why do you always take things left? I was really having a moment. I thought you were going to appreciate it. You had to bring it to shitting with the door open.
I'm just saying.
But the point is, no, yeah, sure. And if you want to shit with the door open, more power to you. I know there's some couples out there that will never do that in the entire history of their relationship.
That's sharing is caring.
Sure. Now we all know if Lenny's really comfortable with you, he's shitting with the door open, ladies and gentlemen. That's
not my thing.
That's one of the parameters.
That's not my thing, but you can be more than happy to.
But the point is, again, as a successful, independent female, nobody is encouraging anybody to walk through life alone. But if it's between being with a mentally, emotionally, financially, or physically abusive partner and being by yourself, I am much more confident in knowing that my life and my lifestyle is not dependent on anybody but me. So if I find myself in that situation, whether I'm bamboozled, hoodwinked, or just fall in love with the wrong person,
you can walk.
I can walk. Do you understand? And that, to me, is what's changed in 2023. But now you've got all these kind of competing narratives on social media, berating independent women and saying that independent women are the reason why humanity is going to end. And then you've got the Andrew Tates out there talking about, men you need to beat your chest a little bit more. You need to beat your woman a little bit more.
I still think there's a lot of traditional women left in the world. I think there and it's great to encourage girls to be independent, but it's hard for anyone to be independent in this economy and in this time frame.
But I'm more concerned with encouraging men to be good men. Be that alpha, be the leader, be the protector, and you can be those things without being physically, emotionally, mentally, or financially abusive. And unfortunately, when you have people like Andrew Tate out here helping raise a generation of young men on social media who maybe don't have active, present, great examples of alpha men in their lives, this is what they're receiving as the message. Do you know what I mean? And that's very scary. I guarantee you we have seen a decrease in abuse, right, since women have become financially more financially independent or have more opportunity in the job market. And I say that because you're not stuck in those kinds of situations, right? I'm not saying that there's no abuse left, because we know that there is. But what I don't want to see is a reversal of that, because now we're saying, you know, it's time to go back to traditional family values, and you've got a bunch of little Andrew Tate wannabes running around.
No, I feel you.
Like, you didn't raise your daughter to be a low value female. You didn't raise Miranda to allow a fucking...
I didn't raise my sons to be Andrew Tate either, but I raised them to be men.
Mm-hmm. But there's a difference,
to speak their voice, and, you know...
But there's nothing wrong. But do you not understand, though? If you carry yourself in a way that commands respect, you're going to get that respect. Like, that was probably my favorite takeaway from that conversation we had with Dr. Dawn. It was that, you know, an alpha is always going to be perceived as a true alpha male, a true leader, a true protector, like, is always going to be perceived that way. It's like an independent woman, right? Like, you don't have to flex that you don't need your man. You're going to give that off, right? Like, that's just something, and I don't mean that in that dismissive way, like, I don't need you. But, like, when you're worth your salt, you exude that. Like, when somebody walks into a bar, like, Len, you know, if we're at Anthony's, which is your spot, I think you can tell, you know, when a gold digger walks in. I think, you know, you can tell when a boss walks in. You can tell when, you know, I don't want to say a good woman, but, you know, a woman that respects her husband. I don't know what I'm even saying when I say a woman that respects her husband, but you know what I'm saying. Like, yeah. I think that you give those things off. It doesn't necessarily need to be said. You don't need to, you know, stand on top of the bar and yell and scream it to the room. And a lot of times the guy that is doing that isn't the real alpha.
No.
You know what I mean? So, like, that to me is why I'm happy that Andrew Tate, we're now seeing and on top of it, it's also just pointing out the stupidity of social media.
He's an actor.
For sure. He's a character.
Yes.
He's a character.
You know, he's playing a role to get somewhere.
But, like, all of that brought him down. His own arrogance.
I don't necessarily think he's down and gone. I think you're overestimating the issues that he's facing. I don't really think he's disappearing. I don't think he's disappearing anytime soon. I don't think he's going to jail. I think he's
limited in his movement, though, because he will face criminal charges in other places. It's like Homeboy. Who was the guy on Netflix, the scam artist that was stealing the money? Did you see that documentary? There was the dude who was stealing all the money from the women, and now he's been blasted. Like, he stole millions, and he was like, you know, he was saying, the Tinder swindler, the Tinder swindler. But, like, now he's been blasted, right? Like, so yes, I'm sure there are still.
But women. I don't see that. I don't see that for Tate. Tate has created a cult.
But he's losing. Here's the thing, though.
I mean, is he? Yeah, he's losing market share, but I don't think he's going away that quick. I think he has positioned himself as a religious leader almost. And he has a following, and that following is diehard. They're drinking the Kool-Aid.
Guess what happened to the people who drank the Kool-Aid in Jonestown? Do your research. Like, it didn't end well for any of them.
No.
So that is my point. I think that, honestly, though, while some are drinking the Kool-Aid, I think others are waking up to the actualities of who this person is and the fraudulent, like the fraudulence that surrounds
hopefully our
him.
conversation here will make people understand that it's okay to be a man. It's not okay to be a misogynistic prick.
Also, you know, if you're involved in criminal activity, maybe don't become
put your
the most
Bugatti on TV.
maybe don't become the most active, outspoken person on social media. I'm just saying you might want to fly a little under the radar there. All right, so that was the latest on Andrew Tate. We will, of course, keep you posted, and we will be back with episode 58 next time here in the Man Cave. Remember, like, subscribe, share, and follow any and everywhere you can find your podcast. Also, drop your comments, especially on our social media. We're super active on TikTok, on YouTube,
Doing.
and on Instagram. And yeah, thank you for watching the ManTFup podcast.
Peace.